long did you wrestle over the period of time where you were starting to feel numbness, where you were getting symptoms?
2 months.
So you were actually taking bumps for 2 months.
And every time I did, I felt like I needed to vomit. So I'm on TV, and I'm trying to hold this in and not letting anyone know, because that's just what we do, you know. So I wrestled through it, and then finally got to a point where I lost my strength, and when the muscles start to atrophy, now it affects your appearance on TV, and that's 50% of what we do is our appearance.
That's fascinating. That's Canadian Adam Copeland, Edge, talking about the injuries, the wear and tear on his body. Let me ask you this. If a guy says, I understand the risks, I'm good to go, I'll go to the top of the ladder, and I'll fall down, is that good enough for you?
Yeah, I think that our talents make the conscious decision sometime to take too many risks. I'm a big aficionado of mat wrestling, and I don't think that they need to take so many unnecessary risks. You know, we've done a lot on my watch to make the working conditions better. The guys work 4 days on and 3 days off. There's no more of those 30 days. You know, you've interviewed a lot of guys here, and in the old days, we were on the road 40 days in a row, and they were away from their families, which gave them the opportunity to make bad choices.
And the old days were only a few years ago, right? I mean, this change that you're talking about is recent, right?
It is evolving, and I think we're getting better at what we do. I think we're getting better at managing people, and I think it's incumbent upon the wrestlers themselves to perfect the art of storytelling without thinking they have to be a daredevil.
You know, and I know that this is a difficult issue for you and for your company, but the acknowledgement that the grind was so great, do you look at that and you say, you know what, a lot of guys have had problems with drugs, with painkillers, and the expectation is that if you got to go out there, you got to do something to be able to move that shoulder. Do you sort of look back and say, yeah, I can see the relationship?
I can see guys being on the road for, 6, 8 weeks at a time and abusing themselves, but I also look back and tell the guys, take a look in the mirror. You have the right and the choice to make a good decision. You don't have to go to your room every night and take a handful of somas or take 4 or 5 Vicodin and a 6-pack of beer because you believe that to be your rite of passage. I think it's bad decision making. The immaturity of some athletes, they get rich and make a lot of money and they make bad choices. I can't follow them to their room. Vince McMahon can't follow them to their room and tuck them in and make sure that they aren't taking too many pills. But we can do things about it when we see, and we do. We terminated Jeff Hardy's contract because of a drug issue. And I counseled with him, I fined him, I suspended him, I drug tested him again, and because he wouldn't go to rehab, I terminated his agreement. I don't know what more we can do. And for those that say, the uninformed media, that we aren't doing anything about it, they're not doing their homework.
Maybe what they're saying as much as anything, or maybe what they should be saying is that in the past, in wrestling, stuff was not done about it. That if a guy showed up and he was ready to go, there were no questions what got him there. Is that correct?
I think that the management philosophies in all of our business a generation ago was much different. When I did Falcon football in the early 90s, and I had a chance to interview a lot of old-time football players in the 60s and 70s, you hear the same basic stories of the team doctor shooting them up for a game and pain pills being dispensed in a trainer's room. And I'm sure it's the same way in hockey. If you talk to an old hockey guy, well, we played with pain, and these punks now are making too much money, and we were tougher then. And, it is a constant evolution. I think we're at a point in our society where we have to look at the quality of these guys' lives. I think the fact that they're able to be home every week allows them not to feel so guilty about missing all the family functions.
How about your guilt? When a guy passes away and you know that it's related to drugs and you know that there's a wear and tear and a grind, whether or not you feel like you could have done anything about it, is there guilt on your part and the company's part?
I can't speak for the entire company. I can speak for myself. I've never felt guilty about anybody that's died on my watch because looking at the guys that passed away on my watch, obviously Owen Hart was an accident, had nothing to do with drugs. Brian Pillman had a congestive heart failure. Did Brian do drugs? Yes. Did I drug test him? Yes. Was it discussed thoroughly on heart-to-hearts? Absolutely. But the NFL missed his heart issue. His own insurance company missed his heart issue. So I felt badly about Brian dying, and I cried, and I think about this kid almost every day. I write about him in my cookbook, which has a lot of wrestling stories in it. But I don't feel guilty because I did all I thought I could do to help him. And I think this whole mindset right now, I don't know what, Michael, I can do about what happened in the 70s or the 80s or the early 90s. I can only affect the future and today. And I can tell you that today we're managing these guys much better, I think. I feel like it. And I don't, you know, Gorilla Monsoon told me one time that a pat on the back is only 18 inches away from a kick in the ass. So I don't want to break my arm, pat myself on the back. But Vince's leadership and the way we want to manage and recruit guys, you know, we're trying to get guys with some character, and they give you less problems. And I don't think we have any big major drug issues right now.
He's JR. You know him as the voice of Raw. You know him as the greatest wrestling announcer ever. But you also now know that behind the scenes, he's probably the second most influential man in the company behind Vince McMahon. I want to talk to you about Kurt Angle, Trish Stratus, and more when OTR returns with JR.